Welcome to Victoria Rumble Room, a show that endeavors to try to bring you the big issues on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, the wide planet, the universe.
The universe, Robin, the universe.
And my planetary partner in crime, the Croatian sensation himself, John Jurisic, is in the Rumble Room. And John, tons going on. We have a new BC Liberal leader.
I can't believe it. Finally, Robin. Finally, after a convention that feels like it lasted about 30 years, Kevin Falcon won on the 5th ballot in a preferential ballot convention. Not too certain about these things, but anyway, where over 40,000 BC Liberals delivered their verdict. Oh man, I remember the good old days when we used to do that in person. It just felt more real. Anyway, here's what the winner had to say.
Trust in politics and politicians has never been lower. Politicians make all kinds of promises, but so often nothing actually gets done. And some people feel polarized, some are apathetic, and so many more are just disillusioned with the entire political process. There is a desire like I've never seen before for candor, for competence, and for leadership. And there is also a desire for leaders who will bring people together and who recognize that while we might mightily disagree about policy, we can do so without making it personal.
So we'll be digging deep on Kevin Falcon and what this means to the BC Liberals with an old friend of ours, former MLA Sheila Orr will be here in the Rumble Room, and we'll talk about what this means to her, BC Liberals, and John Horgan, the Premier of the province and the NDP. Can't wait for that, John.
Sheila Orr, always so entertaining. I think we've had her once or twice in the past. Always a well-viewed show. Plenty of issues, plenty of other issues as well to follow for a second straight weekend. That also feels like it's forever. Truckers and their anti-vaccine mandate supporters were out honking their horns in Victoria. It's easy to just say that, honking their horns in Victoria. But if you're in that, that is torture. That's what people use to torture other people, noise. So they're honking their horns in Victoria and many other cities across the country. In Victoria, the crowd was much smaller. And there were even pro-mandate signs in the crowd. So there was a conflict, right? So you have to wonder if this Freedom Convoy, is it finally running out of steam?
You have to think maybe it is, John, but they've certainly made their views very clear. I do think it does reflect growing anger and discontent in the country about COVID-19. And why wouldn't you be unhappy about COVID-19? We're all sick of it. We're all sick of the mandates, but we also believe in science, John. You and I believe in science. We believe we're trying to do the best thing, wearing masks and following the protocols and getting the passports and all of that. So it's a big argument, but I think at this point, the majority still believes we're taking the right track, but it's exhausting. And, I think once Omicron settles down later this month, we are going to see changes. Dr. Bonnie Henry has talked about this. She wants to start relaxing some of the mandates. And, we shall see. As for how this is affecting other things, we've now seen the leader of the federal Conservative Party, Erin O'Toole, removed as leader. And that party is going to go through another leadership convention themselves. And it looks like they're taking a swing to the right, especially if you judge comments made by the interim leader, Candice Bergen, in the House, when the topic was, of course, what was going on with the truckers' dispute.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let's be abundantly clear that those individuals who've called for the incitement of violence to overthrow this government, who have caused significant disruption by flagrantly ignoring public health care measures that have forced shops and businesses to close, that have desecrated war memorials, are not interested in free speech, they're not interested in discourse, and they're certainly not interested in advancing our way out of this pandemic, Mr. Speaker. This government will always listen to those who want to have a robust debate about public health care measures, but we have to draw a bright line between those who are interested in that debate and those who are not. Excellent.
for Portage Nisgaard.
That minister is misleading Canadians. I do get very defensive of Canadians who are outside today, patriotic, peace-loving Canadians who are called misogynist and racist by the Prime Minister. So again, I will ask the Prime Minister, who, may I remind this House, wore blackface on more times than he can remember, apologize to the peace-loving, patriotic Canadians who are outside right now just asking to be heard.
The truckers have certainly been heard across the country, no doubt, as well as the 90% that are vaccinated and working daily. Many in this anti-mandate crowd and the truckers crowd in all these cities feel they've been treated badly by the media. I just don't get that. But, you know, their messages have been so mixed. I don't know what they stand for in any given hour.
Somebody called us a couple of goons.
Well,
We got to know
comments
that
we've had are extraordinary. Old goons. I'm trying hard not to be old. Some are simply, you know, some of these folks, they're asking for their freedoms. Their freedoms. They have freedom to do anything they want. Oh my gosh, they want the mandates relaxed. There are others, you know, in that crowd that are very much more radical.
I advocate civil war. If people don't want to stand up, we've got guns, we'll stand up and we'll bring them out.
The mandates, passport mandates, is too invasive. It just goes against everything that we have known as a democratic people.
Yeah, we're fighting for freedom, my man. We're gonna keep fighting, Trudeau. You have nothing on us, Trudeau. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. We're gonna defeat you, Trudeau. Freedom, freedom, freedom!
As for the politicians, Justin Trudeau's not sympathetic and not amused by the truckers' behavior, and now most recently has actually caught COVID. So I wish him well. Now, the Conservative Party, the so-called official opposition, a divided camp, mixed messages. Some Tories support vaccine mandate, some don't. Some are not allowed in the legislature, some are, some support, some don't. Confusing.
I think that it is possible to hold individually responsible anyone who says or does anything unacceptable, while showing support for the hardworking, law-abiding, peace-loving truckers who are fighting for their freedom and their livelihoods, and on whom we have depended for our very existence.
The establishment media has been looking for controversies with some of these truckers. They're trying to find all the bad things that someone might have said on social media. But you know what? There's a lot of people that are coming to Ottawa who don't know what else to do, because their lives have been impacted just as much as mine and yours the last 2 years. And they're trying to find a constructive way to let people know, hey, I'm not okay with what's happening.
I think the Conservatives have made a terrible mistake, John. I think that a lot of people in this country are actually fiscal conservatives, but are not conservatives socially, and really want to see more flexibility in thought. And I think you're playing to the mob in a way when you say, oh, well, you know, maybe we should all have a rethink about mandates, when the vast majority of people really want them. A few thoughts on the convoy that's just driven across the country, the truckers' convoy from coast to coast, and this notion of how somehow it is patriotic and freedom-loving to oppose vaccinations and the protocol mandates that are there to protect us. I have a lot of trouble with this. You know, I get it. We're all tired of wearing masks. We're tired of being told to stay at home. Nobody in their right mind enjoys the COVID mandates. We're sick of it, and the opinion polls reflect that. They're showing increasingly people want to see the mandates relaxed. And guess what? Dr. Bonnie Henry is strongly indicating by Family Day this month, we could see a number of the mandates relaxed. And that's good news, but COVID is still here. We still need to tread carefully. Omicron is with us. There's even a second type of Omicron that's with us. This means that it's still deadly and potentially dangerous, but we're reaching a tipping point in a positive direction. And that's because so many people have got their shots. The vast majority have rolled up their sleeves with gratitude. And they've done this also as a point of freedom. They did it because they say it's the right thing to do. Freedom doesn't mean you get to do everything you want. Most Canadians have decided that we have to listen to our health experts. And this wasn't forced on us. This was a decision that people have made, carefully made. And I see protesters with signs saying that government has taken away our rights and that somehow we're verging on a dictatorship. Well, I'd suggest that people always vote in politicians who promise to protect us and look after our interests in the face of crisis. And guess what? I think that's what our politicians are attempting to do right now. So yes, go ahead. Have your protest. It's your democratic right. But stop abusing people who decide they want to follow the mandates. They want to have their vaccinations. You know, it drives me crazy to think we're going to get through this one day, and it's going to be the truckers and the anti-vaxxers who are actually going to take credit for solving this whole issue. You know, democracy is not easy, but thank God we live in Canada, such a great country, strong and free. And I have to also say that there's a lot of American Republican thought that goes into this. I hear Donald Trump has been encouraging this from the sidelines. And here's a message from Donald Trump Jr.
And now it's going away in Canada, where there are truckers getting together to fight against medical discrimination. There's a convoy of trucks, tractor trailers now assembling in Canada that right now is 70 kilometers long. I'm going to play the video at the end of this thing so you can see for yourself. Because when we get together and when we stand together and when we push back against the insanity, we can win. And that's how this all ends, okay? So this is a genius idea.
Robin, to have Donald Trump Jr. on our show, it almost makes me want to vomit. But nonetheless, here we are. They're commenting on our politics. Donald Trump is getting involved. Oh my God, these are crazy times. And you know, there's so much misinformation. It's extraordinary. It's all over the place. I mean, it just happened with Spotify. There's insanity going on with all that. However, I know that BC's top doctor, Dr. Bonnie Henry, is trying hard to address this.
So there's a few things that are really, I can say unequivocally, vaccines do not change your DNA. Vaccines do not affect fertility now or in the future. Vaccines do protect you from infection and from serious illness. And we know that they are very, very safe. Yes, every vaccine, every medication we have does have the potential for side effects, but those are very, very low.
Dr. Bonnie Henry. And again, she is talking about relaxing some of the mandates this month, maybe around Family Day. We'll have to wait and see. Omicron numbers are still high, but the feeling is that this is starting to level, and we'd love to see some relaxation, although we have to stand by the medical professionals. They're the experts. We need to listen to them, even though we are getting tired and fatigued. And we also need to listen to people like Brian Kieran, who is our special guest in the Rumble Room this week. He lives near the legislature. He had a ringside seat to 2 weekends of protests by all these anti-mandate folks and the truckers and the blasting horns. Brian's a veteran award-winning journalist, formerly with the Vancouver Sun, a columnist for many years with the Vancouver Province. And we asked him about how the NDP is going to be feeling about the new Liberal leader. And of course, he has an opinion or two to express about the so-called Truckers' Freedom Convoy. So let's zoom Brian Kieran in. And now joining us for the very first time in the Victoria Rumble Room is one of journalism's great rumblers, Brian Kieran. So nice to have you on the show, Brian.
Robin, so great to be here with you. Back in the day, as you well know, I used to take no prisoners, but I'm a kinder, gentler person these days, but still have my opinions.
Well,
that's great.
Opinions is what we want, and we've got lots of questions for you, Brian.
Excellent.
And we're gonna cover a lot of territory, BC Liberal leadership, how the government's doing. But I thought we'd start with something that maybe is a little bit more in our faces at the moment, or has been for the last week or so, and that would be the Freedom Convoy. And Brian, you were in the press gallery starting about 1980, coming over with the Vancouver Sun, then you were a columnist with the Vancouver Province, then you were government relations consultancy. You've been around the legislature and for so many years. You're now the editor of Orders of the Day, which is a newsletter for ex-MLAs. And you've seen in your time a lot of protests. And now we've had this truckers' protest, both in British Columbia at the legislature and right across the country. Do you really think these types of protests really gain traction with the public and change minds?
Well, Robin, quite frankly, what we saw down here, I live in James Bay, and we were right in the thick of it all through the weekend. It was profoundly disturbing, quite frankly. Yes, I've seen a lot of protests on the front lawn. I've seen 10,000 people out there in the Solidarity Days. And, when they really had a beef worth taking to the lawn of the legislature. To see these anti-vaxxers parading behind the exhaust fumes of these trucks, trying to climb on some kind of confused trucker complaint, was pretty disappointing. I know the level of frustration in the public is huge at this point, but the whole premise of the truckers parade across the nation is so basically flawed. I mean, we're asked to forget that the border between here and the States is a two-way street. So even if the federal government was going to relax its vaccination protocols, the Americans won't. So I mean, it's just from that standpoint alone, this whole parade across the country is a waste of time. These guys could be at work. Instead they're wasting valuable time that they should be on the job, and they're wasting their fuel, and they're wasting people's time and energy.
Creating the divide between two different types of people when we've always been together as one, and now it's just complete separation, and it's devastating.
I believe we have to protect our rights as citizens. This isn't about a vaccine or no vaccine. It's about what we're able to do every day.
Get out of here. We don't want you here. You're a liar. Get out of here. We're not anti-anything. We're protesting the infringement of our freedom. For your freedom. For your freedom.
We saw some things on the lawn of the legislature on Saturday that were pretty disturbing. I spoke to one woman who was coming from work downtown along Belleville over into James Bay here, and she was wearing her mask, as many of us do around here. And one of these protesters went up to her and sneezed right in her face on purpose. It's stuff like that. You just go like, it's so profoundly ignorant, and I find a lot of us down here find that deeply disturbing.
It's fantastic having a guest who's so familiar with the BC political scene. Brian, nice to meet you for the first time. I'm very honored. Robert Biggs has a good fun with me saying how honored I am, but truly feel that way with you. Brian, we're going to talk about the BC leadership race in a few minutes. Ostensibly, that's why we have you on today. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about the John Horgan government. I've worked in West Shore. I worked with Stu Young for many years in economic development. I got to know John. I was never on that side of the political ledger, but he's such a nice guy. He's such an easy guy to like,
I think everyone can have complete confidence, despite an extraordinary 21 months of a global pandemic, that healthcare workers, the numerous ones I've met over the past number of weeks in different settings, are not only professional, but they're kind, they're caring, and they're compassionate, and they deserve our support.
He's enjoyed high approval ratings. I think people are really pleased with the government's handling of the pandemic. What kind of grade would you give the NDP government at this moment?
Oh, I think given the circumstances they find themselves in, I'd give them at least a B+. What we're experiencing today is just good, steady government. And in face of the crisis that they're dealing with, that's a big plus on their part. I was as Robin well knows, I was in the press gallery all through the 1990s when the NDP first formed government initially under Mike Harcourt, and Mike and I still communicate back and forth to this day. It was a much different kind of government back then. It was a government that didn't understand how to govern. They were torn from within. There was competing elements within the cabinet itself. And Mike Harcourt paid the price for that, and then and others did too. But we have 4 premiers in 10 years, so to see how that has evolved over the years, and to see Mr. Horgan take a very firm hand. Yes, he is a great guy. He's not a pushover. He has very, very strong hand on government, and the people around him are doing their jobs and behaving and doing really well. I mean, we look at somebody like Adrian Dix, who had a bit of a clouded past coming up to his position in government and in cabinet. Here we find in a person like Adrian Dix, under the huge weight of the pandemic, handling the health portfolio in an admirable way. I was talking with Robin the other day about this, and I said, one of the neat things about Adrian Dix is, and since he's been in the health ministry, he's discovered empathy. He's a different man. He's really had to embrace the better parts of the public, of the public trust and the fact that you're a public servant, and that seems to come through. Obviously, he's ably supported by Dr. Bonney. I look at their approval ratings there, that they've been falling off a bit, and I think that's not to be that shouldn't be a surprise given the level of frustration out there and the level of fatigue. So even though there's been fatigue and there's been pushback, these people are still scoring very high points with the public. So I really think they're going to be around for a while, given unless there's some unforeseen scandal in government. I can't see that coming. I think they're going to be around for at least another election. So the challenge for the Liberals is going to be very, very steep indeed. In serving these former MLAs these days, one of the things that is a constant refrain from old enemies on either side of the spectrum, the enemies 2 swords apart in the House, they all, to a man and to a woman, when they get out of politics and retire and join together, they say they have far more in common than they ever did apart.
Well, that was fascinating. What an honor, Robbie, to hear from Brian Kieran. Certainly wish the BC Liberals well after 3 decades of a leadership campaign. If they do anything well, they need to change that. It's going to be a tough fight against a very well-established and popular NDP majority.
I think that's true, and I wish whoever does win this race, and we'll know very shortly here who the winner is going to be. They got a lot of work ahead. And talking more behind the scenes on how this leadership race unfolds on the night of the big decision, we're going to have Sheila Orr here, the former MLA for Victoria Hillside, now retired, but never really retired from politics, always plugged in and always has an opinion. Sheila Orr is going to join us to give us the scoop on why the Liberals did what they did and why they chose who they chose. And I can't wait for that, John.
Oh, likewise. I can't wait, especially if she has a little bit of inside, because that's where all the political fun is, isn't it? Okay, Robin, I often don't wish that these things end, but they have to. Our audience has to do other stuff. Get on with their lives. And I'd like to switch it up a little bit and try to entertain our audience about the many ways in which they can support and like our show. So I did a little thing where I recorded a little sort of, headshot of me driving you around the internet where you can go to our Facebook and Twitter pages. So here you go. Here, please watch. Well, how exciting is this? We have 6 different ways in which you can like us, share us, subscribe to us, delete us. Hope that never happens. The bulk of the activity for the Victoria Rumble Room happens on our Facebook page, right here, facebook.com/Victoria Rumble Room. And all of our videos are housed here, as well as quite a body of followers. We have a lot of activity also on our Twitter page, at Victoria Rumble Room 1. Our videos are housed at our YouTube site. This is where all of them are. It's like a server for us. It's really the only way in which we can deliver this kind of a media product to you guys. Please consider subscribing. I use my Instagram page as the Victoria Rumble Room page. I hope my followers aren't too annoyed with that. Nonetheless, Instagram.com, JohnJ59. We have a website, VictoriaRumbleRoom.com, and that connects us via a podcast functionality to our Apple Podcasts, to Google, and to Podbean. And so our vodcast via a podcast functionality really get out into the digital universe. I also use our TikTok page as a place to house all of our Victoria Rumble Room videos. Lots of activity here. Here's the address. Lots of activity, lots of crazy comments. So these are all of the ways in which you can listen to our interviews, listen to our comments, listen to our craziness. I really hope you like this kind of way of presenting how you can participate in all of the media and interviews and chats that Robin and I do on the Victoria Rumble Room. So what do you think about that? All of our bazillion listeners, write in the comments, subscribe, all that stuff that I just reviewed. Nonetheless, time for us to wrap it up. Oh, I'm so sad when that has to happen. However, we're going to be back soon. I am the Croatian sensation, the mayor of Upper Tulip Avenue, Johnny Boris Jurisic.
And I am merely Robin Adair. And rumble on!